Hello, everybody, and welcome to this very special episode of Turning Towards Life. This is an episode that we are putting in the bag, as it were. We've been wondering about the process of me giving birth and being a little bit unable for a while, possibly, to be on the live broadcasts. So this is a special episode of Turning Towards Life with me, Lizzie, and this lovely Justin here, because we are preempting the fact that I might not be available and finding sources with one another and doing recordings at different times during the week so that we can whip these out of our little special bag in those circumstances. Or Justin will be whipping them out of the bag when I'm in some kind of mess or derangement or something. So, and that might not happen. It might all be completely fine, in which case these will be buried forever in the annals of our computers. But most likely they will be revealed to us. So thank you for being here with us this week. And this wonderful day, we have a source by the lovely Mark Nepo that Justin has chosen. And I'm very much looking forward to talking about it. And as soon as I read it, I thought, oh, this has got loads of legs in it for a lovely conversation for us.
Thank you, Lizzie. Hello, everyone. I think that even if you're able to make every week, Lizzie, we will let these out of the bag at some point, because I know that the ones we've recorded already, this is the third special one that we're doing together, have been rather good. So I'm hoping that they will see the light of day at some point. I want to add my welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Those of you who have recently found your way, our way, those of you who have been with us for a long time, we are, as we're recording this, just entering our third year of this project, which is an amazing thing to think about. So thank you as always for being with us, for making this possible. And you can find this source on our website, turningtowards.life. And we haven't said for a while, Lizzie, that you can find out about the work that we do in the world, which this is such an expression of, at wearethirdsapace.org. So you'll find everything about Thirdspace, which is something that Lizzie and I are a big part of there. And when you're assuming that you've missed some time, Lizzie, when we put this out, when you're back, we live stream at 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning, 9 o'clock UK time on Facebook, and you're very welcome to join our Facebook group, which is a private Facebook group, and you can just search for us at Turning Towards Life, and we will be very, very glad to have you with us. So this source is called Do You Want to Leave? It will also be on, by the time we put this recording out, it will also be on the Turning Towards Life website, like all of the sources are, if you want to read it yourself. And it's by Mark Nepo, and it's from his amazing, really wise, kind, and healing book, The Book of Awakening. And it goes like this. Walls are worn away a grain at a time, and hearts are opened a feeling at a time. Susan and I were sitting in an ice cream parlour when the two couples next to us began to get loud. They were just having a good time, but I was feeling a bit inward and intruded on. I felt the need to go. I leaned over to Susan and asked if she wanted to leave, and she, in her contentment, said, "No, I'm happy here." And then, seeing consternation on my face, she asked, "Do you want to go?" In that simple moment, in a booth in an ice cream parlour, I realised that for much of my 49 years, I have tried to take care of my needs by indirectly projecting them on those around me and then acting as if I'm taking care of the other person. As the ice cream was melting, I understood myself. I laughed, shook my head, felt embarrassed, and then sighed deeply and, importantly, voiced the obvious, yes, I'd like to leave. This indirect way of trying to get what I need by planting my feelings as needs to be attended to in those around me has been a way to hide my vulnerability while still managing to appear as a kind and other-centered person. I realise I am not alone in this malady. It is often so subtle and so close to our healthy way of relating to others that we seldom realise the manipulation and deceit involved. Of course, this indirectness lives in us because somewhere along the way we become convinced, often with good, harsh reason, that to voice directly what we need is asking to be heard. Yet, I know of no other way to reverse this hiding of who we are than to catch ourselves humbly in each instance and to rise out of our private cave admitting the indirectness and saying what we feel and what we need as soon as possible. Still, the energy wasting in trying to quietly get others to behave in ways that will satisfy our needs remains a major source of anxiety and alienation. Rather than prevent us from being hurt, indirectness and dishonesty only heighten our isolation from what it means to be alive. Underneath it all is the fundamental truth that as trees have leaves that are nicked and eaten, human beings have feelings that are just as worn by the act of living. We have a right to these. They are evidence of our human seasons.
I'm just going to read the last part of this again. So, of course, this indirectness lives in us because somewhere along the way, we became convinced, often with a good, harsh reason, that to voice directly what we need is asking to be hurt. Yet I know of no other way to reverse this hiding of who we are than to catch ourselves humbly in each instance and to rise out of our private cave, admitting the indirectness and saying what we feel and what we need as soon as possible. Still, the energy wasted in trying to quietly get others to behave in ways that will satisfy our needs, remains a major source of anxiety and alienation. Rather than prevent us from being hurt, indirectness and dishonesty only heighten our isolation from what it means to be alive. Underneath it all is the fundamental truth that as trees have leaves that are nicked and eaten, human beings have feelings that are just as worn by the act of living. We have a right to these. They are evidence of our human seasons.
I so appreciate this, Lizzie, Mark Nepo's work. Firstly, mostly because I see it in myself so much. You know, this place where he says, in order to hide our vulnerability, it's very easy to essentially to pretend to be an other-centered person, like to have the identity of being an other-centered, caring person, and then not to be actually taking care of the other person, but to be keeping the identity going whilst secretly trying not to be a person who looks like they have needs. And I read this and I thought, well, I know this place. I know it really well. And I've been watching recently with some amazement, actually, seeing in ways in which this identity, this narrative of being other-centered can be such a subtle and powerful way of manipulating other people into getting what I want without letting anybody know that I have wants at all. And as I've started to see it, I have felt quite some of the shame and embarrassment that Mark Nepo talks about, because it runs so contrary to my own story about myself and what I've worked so assiduously to cultivate in the world, is that people will think, well, I'll be taking care of them and all that. So first of all, I recognize the pattern, and I think lots of us have this. And the second thing is, I'm really grateful for this line in the middle, right in the middle of this, where he says, I'm just going to see if I can find it because it's so good. As the ice cream was melting, I laughed, shook my head, felt embarrassed, sighed deeply, and voiced the obvious. And that's the move. That moment is the whole liberating move in the whole story, to be able to feel, oh, I really do feel embarrassed about what I'm doing here, and I do want to leave. And the thing that's been amazing for me about it, and you'll know this, Lizzie, because you've been such a big part of this in me getting onto things in my own life, is what a gift it is to find that I can tell the truth about myself and still be loved. Because the secret fear that keeps this whole thing going, this is something I don't think Mark Nepo says directly, but at least it seems to me. The secret fear is something like, if anybody ever sees that I'm not completely, totally other-directed, and that I am actually a person and that I have needs that might go contrary to your needs, like I want to leave, I'll be cast out, I won't belong, I'll die, I'll be abandoned, So it's all part of our very elaborate way of trying not to feel any of those things. And what it does is this is what I think is so brilliantly expressed here. You know, when we're prepared to move away from what's true about ourselves in something very, very small, like, do you want to leave the ice cream parlor? That those small acts keep on adding up to a great big something. It's not a one-off when we're doing this, at least in my life. You can see, oh, it's here and 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 it's here. That's why that moment in the middle of this is so incredibly powerful. The moment we start to say what's true. I want to go. You might not want to go, but I really do want to go.
Yeah.
So isn't it wonderful to find, I'm finding it wonderful to find other people who know this experience from the inside. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not alone.
Yeah. And as you're saying all of that, I'm feeling the vulnerability of saying an I statement and there being a need in amongst it. Like, I want to go. And I'm noticing how very rarely I've ever said a sentence like that. Like, there's always some couching, there's always some consideration of the other or negotiation point laid out, or it's very rare, certainly in my life, for there just to be, this is what I want and this is what I need now. And interestingly, carrying a baby has been a very curious experience in this very regard, because I've been discovering the new boundaries that exist in me, where my body is a body that's doing something that's not just about me. And out of that has been born a different set of boundaries. For example, I can't actually stay awake now. I need to lie down, or I need to leave this restaurant, or, you know, with the various bodily shenanigans that happen when we're carrying other beings inside of our bodies as women. There are like some non-negotiable things where I know very much highlighted this in this, because I've been very surprised at myself, and knowing the contrast of pregnant Lizzie and not pregnant Lizzie, and the kind of thing I feel like I'm entitled to say or declare about my needs, has been really markedly different. So this source is super interesting to me because it helps me further highlight just how other-centered I am and have been. And now a different other-centeredness has come upon me, which is an inclusion of another, but it looks like me. And still, even when I'm like in a non-negotiable situation of need of some kind, I still have a very strong reaction to being the person that's dictating what happens because of a need of mine. And it's such a vulnerable space to say, I need to leave now, I need to go, and it's because of me. And I'm noticing the feeling is quite a young place in me, and I feel I feel ashamed when I imagine myself and feel, go back to a situation where I say, this is what I need, and then an action has to happen that affects another, and how self-conscious and kind of hesitating I feel in my body to be the person that dictates what happens next, because I'm attending to my own wishes, preferences, bodily need, anything like that. And this is to the extent, by the way, of even saying I'm hungry. I have a very strong memory in my body of being the person that either wants to go to the loo or wants a snack, and feeling so self-conscious about those two things. And I'm always the one who needs the loo at the wrong time. That's like part of my story of being a body in the world. And also feeling like to stop something because I need a snack as, I don't know, I've got this like real interesting relationship to that, where I think, well, just me wanting a snack, should that stop anything in its tracks? Should that stop me in my tracks even? Should that stop a family in its tracks? Should that stop whoever I'm with just because I want a snack? Is that a good enough reason? And so I notice in even that dynamic how I smallen myself by comparison to the other needs that exist in a system or a partnership or a group or something.
I so appreciate what you're saying, Lizzie, and it's a wonderful way in to see some of the dynamics, to see how, for you, one of the ways that you get to be self-related is because you have another in your own body right now who you're having to take care of, and so there's because of the boundaries that your body is on the outside of that person, you get to take care of something that in a way that could be other, but that becomes you, and you get to feel what it's like for it to be you. And I was thinking whilst you were, I was thinking lots of things and feeling lots of things whilst you were talking, but one of them was, the first one was, oh goodness, it's no wonder that so many of us go through the world with, I think Mark Neep is right to call it a deceit and a manipulation, because we were taught that to be the opposite to being other-centered was to be self-centered, like self-centered as in the sense of not taking care of anyone else. So and we got taught that again and again and again, maybe in our family systems, that to have a need that ran against the direction that the family was going, or against the direction that our school timetable was going. Like when you need to pee in the middle of a lesson,
Yeah.
and nobody will take you seriously because it will be all of that stuff that we learn. And also what was happening for me whilst you were talking, it occurred to me that this is another one of these right-sizing topics. So we learn for good reason to be way too small. In other words, in voicing our own needs, and in being small, we render ourselves indirect. I don't have any power really to say something. I have to go obliquely. I have to make some, as Mark Nepo does in here. It's such an amazing strategy. This is the one I recognize. I have to see if I can get someone else to feel like it's their need, not my need.
Yeah.
Rather than saying I need to leave, I want to leave. So that was one direction. And right sizing in that way would be to see that to be self-centered is to return ourselves to equal dignity with other living things that have needs. Like I've then become somebody with needs that can be voiced. But the other part that I got onto, I can't remember what it was that you said, or whether it was just sort of memory of my own, was that I saw whilst you were speaking, Lizzie, that when we get into this manipulation, we also wrong size. I've never used that word before, but anyway, wrong size other people. Because if I can't tell you that I want to leave, or I need to leave, or I need to eat, or some other need, I want you to stop talking to me that way, or I'd like you to talk to me this way, or I'd like to be left alone. And we can have a long list of needs. If I can't trust that you can take it, and that you as a right-sized, full adult who might actually care about me can respond, and that we can both survive you saying yes or you saying no, then as well as vastly diminishing myself, I'm vastly diminishing you.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why it has been such a liberating joy for me. And I can think about people in my life who are teachers of this, and you've been the teacher for me about this, and Tabina, who I'm married to, has been an amazing teacher about this, that I can have needs and they can be met or not met, and I'm still loved. And
Yeah.
I don't need to protect you from my needs, and I don't need to protect me from your response to my needs. We have really quite enough capacity to reach out to one another and to work it out together. And the great relief is the relief of being welcomed back into the community of living humans, I think. Because there's a way that the whole thing that Mark Neep, at least for me, where he says somewhere like, basically, if we do it this way, we get the opposite of what we really want. So I could see as you were talking that when I've done this, and thankfully, of finding a way to do this less and less and less and less, although I suppose there's probably a lifetime's work to do with it, that very often what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure I belong, but I actually never really feel like I belong if I can't say what I need and be met. If I'm having to be secret,
Yes.
I already don't belong. That's the whole stunt. So then I live as if I don't belong, and that's what the relief is I belong, even though I have needs. I need to eat something. I need to leave.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a revelation.
Yeah. And also in a system, what I'm seeing is that the nature of human beings is to meet one another. And if we're withholding the chance for someone to grant us a need being met, as you say, we're diminishing their capacity to act in response to us as well. Like, we're controlling whether they respond to us or not by not even asking. And for many of us, it's a complete delight to be told, this is what I need. And then we can respond. It's a gift. It's a gift to be able to say, yes, I can meet that. I can make you a snack. Or I can stop right here because there's a loo. Or I can make it easier for you somehow by agreeing to leave because that's okay with me right now. And it may not be okay, but a lot of the time, the chance to meet someone in their need is a great human privilege.
Yes.
And to rip that away from people because of our own insecurity or questioning of ourselves at that level, like, it's important to see the consequences too for others, not just for our own self.
I had I think that the micro moments with the small things on this are such great teachers for the big things as well. Because I'm aware, as when we're talking, that there are big things that we need in our lives that will have a huge effect on other people over many years. But I think it's the same thing. We were, as you know, because you were there for part of it, we were doing a few-day session of our professional coaching course, and our very, very dear friend Julie was there, and I came in one morning and Julie said, "Can I make you a cup of tea?" Which was so lovely. And I could feel the part of myself, I think I may even have done this actually, the part of myself that went, oh, no, 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 I shouldn't accept a cup of tea, because for all the reasons Mark Nepo says, you know, essentially, I shouldn't be a person who has needs. And if I reveal that, all that very deep stuff. So I think I said, no, I'm fine, thank you. And then Julie said, but I would really like to make you a cup of tea, which was so kind, because then I could feel it. And I could feel how, so I wasn't asking her, this was her offering. It was an offer that she made to me, but the truth was I really did want a cup of tea. And I could feel in that moment, with her insistence, her generous, open insistence, I could feel what a joy it was to have somebody who I love and care about, and who loves and cares about me, I know, for her to put aside a couple of minutes of her time in an act of generosity and kindness, so that I, who was about to open the day of the session, would have a cup of tea in my hand. And that's, I think, that thing that you're talking about, where we don't get that in all of our denial of being people with needs and our manipulation, that part that Mark Nepo's been pointing out, there's this other great loss, which is that we treat other people as if their wish to take care of us was somehow disingenuous or inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I kind of can feel the part of me that gets angry about that. It's sort of like, how dare I, when I think about it with a cup of tea and Julie, how dare I treat her as if her wish to take care of me, which is very genuine and heartfelt, had no place. Actually, it's a gift for all of us to say, yes, thank you. I really get that you care about me. I'm really glad. I'm really, really glad that you want to extend yourself my way and meet a need. Yeah. And that's what we did. And it was only a cup of tea. And it was very beautiful. And so this idea that you said, that a request, when we make it, is like a bridge which allows somebody else to be of service, to be of care. And if we won't make requests, we deny others the opportunity to meet us
Yeah.
is such an important thing to see, because so many of us think that a request, I don't know, is an imposition or should never be made, or I'll just get embarrassed, or you'll say no, or you won't like me, or all of those kind of things, and then we miss the most important thing about it.
Yeah. And what, as you're speaking, what's striking me as well is, I know that Mark Nepo uses these quite strong words like deceit and manipulation, but I find it a real liberation to feel like I can admit those things about myself. And I know it feels strong, and I know those words have like a lot of charge around them. But if you take them cleanly, like deceit means not being truthful, and manipulation means like twisting something to fit me. If we just get neutral about those words for a minute, there's a real relief in going, oh yeah, I'm basically manipulating the situation by being indirect. And I'm not telling the truth now. It's like I can feel a freedom in allowing those words to be associated with me, rather than kind of like keeping it all under the hiding thing. And what you're saying about, robbing people of the chance to meet us in our need, that's quite something to reveal about what we're doing. It's a little bit like deceit and manipulation. It's like you would never want to admit that that's what you were doing. And it's really kind of cringeful and like, oh God, I'm taking something away from someone, which is the irony of I'm trying to be generous by not having any needs. And I'm actually being the opposite of generous. I'm probably really annoying everyone, because everyone can see that I want a cup of tea. and we're saying no. It's like all fuzzy. It's like there's not a clean and clear backwards and forwards about things. And so no wonder everyone's kind of annoyed with our passivity and our indirectness. And often Matthew, my husband, will say, can you just tell me what you want? I'm like, often I'm like, I don't even know. But it's like there's a want there, but it's so unfamiliar to me to generate the articulation of what I want, that it takes some doing to really sit for a second and feel what it is that I want. And yeah, I think it's a bit of a revelation to feel the underbelly of what it is that we're up to, because it gives us a way of addressing why we're doing the thing we're doing. And somehow that feels like it can dissolve once we've got our deeper motivations clear, because that's what's driving the behavior.
I'm so enjoying looking at the time and seeing we're going to end any second, but there's something just so hilarious about this, really, and that the sharpness of Mark Nepo's language gets to it, which we need it. I think we need him to say manipulation and deceit, and we need the bit that I'm finding hilarious is exactly what you said, which is, oh yeah, like I'm doing my best to keep up the image that I'm not imposing on anyone, and in my very deceitful, manipulative way of doing this, I'm imposing on everyone by not letting them know that I've got a need that they could respond to. So it's a massive act of control of everyone else. I'm going to control you so you don't behave towards me in a way that disconfirms my identity as being a person who... So it's a great big power trip, even though it doesn't look like it. It looks like exactly the opposite. I'm so small and I'm so tiny. But I'm really trying to be like a magic, like a secret manipulation at a distance person. I'm going to get you to do my will, which is mostly, it's not the doing my will about leaving, really. It's that I'm going to get you to do my will about never saying to me that I might be trouble, or I might be difficult, or you might disagree, or whatever. So it's good. I mean, it's painful. That's why I love that he says we kind of have to squirm, and then we have to, it really helps to squirm and then to own up and say, actually, I'm really embarrassed, Lizzie. I really do want to leave. It's true. And I've been pretending that I didn't. That's the moment. And it brings us into such closeness also potentially with other people. That's the lovely thing. So this has been a wonderful conversation to be in with you, Lizzie, and I sincerely hope that this will find the light of day,
Yeah.
even if we are not interrupted in our efforts.
Me too.
And I want to say to everyone, thank you for being with us, and we will, if this is going out on a Sunday, we're glad that you were here with us, and we will see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. See you
Thank
next
you.
week.
Bye bye.